revolution, the overthrow and the thorough replacement of an established government or political system by the people governed. A radical and pervasive change in society and the social structure. A sudden action
Marie Antoinette, Dauphine of France, I was forced to leave with all of my earthly possessions, even my dog, there on that island of wine. I was required to abandon all things Austrian and become the embodiment of all things French. I was publicly and formally stripped of my nationality and then attired in French clothing, told only that the bride may retain nothing belonging to a foreign court. Austria. I married Louis Auguste France on April 19, 1770. When we received word that Louis XV had died, my husband and I fell to our knees and cried, "God, have mercy, guide us, we are too young to reign." So I would write of the coronation in a letter to my mother. It is clear that these people, out of their misery, have treated us so well. We are all the more bound to work for their happiness. The king seems to realize this too. As for me, if I live to be 100 years, I shall never forget the day of the coronation.
Can one look to the future and the legal innocence of his
The year was 1789. The issues that arose after my husband, King Louis XVI, called the Estates General for the first time in over 160 years were many. The mere fact that the Estates General had not convened for about 150 years should speak to its efficacy. A standoff between the king and parliaments led him to summon it for 1789. Absolute monarchy means that only the king could call the Estates General by a king whose monarchical power had been gradually collapsing for years. In the 17th and 18th century, absolute monarchy was also known as the divine right of kings. It is outlined in the Epistle to the Romans in chapter 13. It is with this mind the godly king rules. The monarch as first servant of the state. The monarch must be inspired by God and accountable to him, living untouched biblical doctrine, and so declaring that the moral duty of men and societies is towards the living Christ and his church. Historically, Roman Catholicism had been the state religion in France. This was so because of the signing of the Edict of Fontainebleau. It was signed by Louis XIII, my husband's great-great-grandfather, in 1685. But in 1787, my husband drafted and signed the Edict of Tolerance, and later, the Edict of Versailles. Official acts that offered relief to non-Catholic worshippers, giving Protestants and Jews alike the right to practice their religions, as well as civil and legal status. But now France is facing the overthrow of this godly monarchy in favor of patriotism. The triumph of humanism and humanistic law over Christianity and Christian law. Patriotism would replace the church and Christianity. Patriots would be seen as the social changing force, rather than preachers proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. The Republic France would become the new God. So accordingly, blasphemy would now be defined as any move against the state. The true patriot would swear allegiance to the new God. the Republic's constitution. So you see, when the king called together the Estates General, it was to him a last resort. His monarchical power was collapsing, and society had been divided into 3 estates, with clergy being the first estate, those who worked for the church, priests, bishops, and nuns. This was the smallest estate in terms of population, about 1,000 members. Nobility formed the second estate. French nobility held the highest positions in the land and did not have to pay many taxes. This estate consisted of about 400,000 members. The third estate was comprised of the common people, representing 98% of the population, boasting about 27 million members. It was their moral values I sought to emulate, those of the commoner. This is why I conceptualized and created l'amour de la reine, the little hamlet, on the grounds of Versailles in 1783, a natural garden and farmhouse, complete with dairy, poultry yard, and stock streams for fishing. For me, it represented what I perceived to be the purity, virtue, innocence, and simplicity of peasant life. I had grown much as a woman by this time. I had my natural and 7 adopted children, which I treasured. I had grown more devout in my faith, having grown closer to my devout sister-in-law, Madame Elizabeth of France. My love for God and the people of France had begun to influence my every decision. I even commissioned my dressmakers to redesign my wardrobe. I would wear only simple gauze dresses. Sometimes a ribbon would be tied at the waist. It was my hope that the impoverished women of France could better copy my dress, as they had desired to do, but could not because of the expense of the opulent gowns, high-powdered wigs, and heavy makeup, which had been originally designed to diminish the scars done by those who had suffered smallpox. I adored the newfound freedom and the precious days spent with my children at lain, the hamlet, playing at being a milkmaid and tending to these sheep in the humble dress of a shepherdess. But alas, my attempts at simplicity were construed as petty spectacle. The many hours spent at l'amour de la reine with my children and other women outside the sight and supervision of my husband gave rise to more rumors.
Louis Auguste must not hear.
Underground, cartoons and engravings continued to be smuggled into France, portraying me in every compromising pose imaginable. To make matters worse, my signature was forged at this time in an event which would become known as the affair of the diamond necklace. It would send to prison the likes of Ratu de Valette, a prostitute who happened to look a lot like me and was bribed to impersonate me in a garden by the moonlight, and Comtesse Jean de Lemort, who had pretended to be my friend. The theft of this very expensive white diamond necklace, by means of my forged signature, would further ruin my reputation. Even though the perpetrators were caught and tried, Cardinal de Rohan was even arrested in full white robes while preparing to celebrate a royal mass. Repugnant. He was later acquitted, along with co-conspirator, alchemist, magician, and Freemason, Alessandro Cagliostro. We were beginning to understand the influence that the Illuminists were exercising through Freemasonry, which was emanating from the Jacobin lodges, which were popping up everywhere, subtly convincing the people of France that I was the cause of all of their ills.
No, Louis, non necklace ever.
I did attempt to fight back in the midst of the image war. I commissioned a painting with my neck conspicuously bare, vacant of any type of necklace. I commissioned another painting with my 3 remaining children and the empty bassinet.